Hello again. Today we start with the first video of lecture number 3, and we start by talking about digital signatures. Right. So in the previous lecture, basically we started talking about cryptography. So we described the main algorithms in a high-level format, and we started by talking about symmetric encryption, also known as private key encryption, and we described how stream ciphers and block ciphers work, as well as what are their main characteristics and differences. Then we moved on to asymmetric encryption schemes, also known as public key encryption schemes, and finally we talked about the main properties of cryptographic hash functions and how we are going to use them to solve the problem related to integrity of the exchange messages in this course at least. Now, keep in mind that usually when I do the physical lectures, I start each lecture, apart from the first one, obviously, with a recap session. So, I spend like around 10 minutes of refreshing the memories of the students based on what we discussed last in the previous lecture. Nevertheless, now that we are using videos, it's really pointless to do this. Okay, so just if you don't remember something, if you feel that you want to refresh your memory on some of the topics that we have already described, please go on and find the relevant videos. Right now, today we will start by describing. In this lecture, we will talk about digital signatures and digital certificates, and in this video, we will start by describing digital signatures. Now, in the previous video, we explored how public key encryption can be used to achieve secrecy in the public key setting. Now, keep in mind that integrity and authenticity in the public key setting are provided using digital signature schemes. And signatures are an important concept of public key cryptography. They were also invented by Diffie and Hellman in the same paper that they published in 1976 that invented public key encryption. However, again, the same story. The first practical system was due to the RSA guys, Rivest, Shamir, and Adelman. So after the digital signatures, in the next videos, we will talk about digital certificates and how this basically they are connected to each other. Good. So let's start. So a digital signature basically is the analog of a signature in the physical world. Now, in the physical world, you write your signature on a document. So imagine that the document that you see on your right is basically signed by Alice, right? Now, in the physical world, the signature is always the same, or anyway, some minor difference might be seen, but anyway, more or less the signature is always the same in the physical world, right? Now, the question is, can this work in the digital world? The answer is obviously no, especially if you start thinking what Eve could do in that case, right? And if the signature on a digital signature on a document would be always the same, then easily our malicious adversary Eve, what she can do is that she can access the digital signature on a file. You can imagine it either as a text or anyway, single file, extra file attached to a document, and she can by accessing this signature basically is like she's having direct access to Alice's signature, which means that she can start reusing it, right? So in the digital world, it's not possible that your signature is the same for all documents. Otherwise, Eve could sign documents on your behalf, and this is something that we must avoid. Good. So the main idea, again, we have Alice and Bob. Alice would like to send a message to Bob. Now, upon reception, Bob, he would like to have a way to make sure that this message was indeed sent by Alice and not someone who is impersonating Alice. And also, he would like to make sure that the message was not altered in transit, right? So the message that Bob received is exactly the message that was sent by Alice. Good. So to do so, basically, Alice will have to sign the message that will send to Bob. Now, upon reception, Bob, he should be able to verify the validity of the signed message, right? To verify the validity of the signature on that message. So how can we make sure that each digital signature is different so that Eve cannot just copy paste it? Simply by making the digital signature being a function of the content that is being signed. So imagine that every time that you sign a document, the content of that document is always different. So basically the signature will be a function of the document that you are signing. So always the signature will be different. In addition to that, signature scheme in a public key setting, is based on probabilistic algorithms. So basically, in any case, there is a lot of randomness in what you generate. We'll see this later. Now imagine that we have again Eve in the middle, and she can get access to the signed message, okay, the signature of the message, and then if she tries to reuse that signed message, the signature, to put it, let's say, on another document, then when she tries to fool Bob by sending this signed document to Bob, he will be, once he runs the verification algorithm, he will be able to see that something is going wrong. Basically, the verification algorithm will fail, and therefore Bob will stop processing the document, and basically we achieve our main goal, which is to frustrate Eve. Good. Now, from that example, what is really important to remember is that a digital signature basically is a kind of construction that authenticates both the origin and contents of a message in a manner that is provable to a third party. Okay, so Alice is signing a message, Bob or anyone else that has some access to some public information would be able to verify the origin as well as the contents of the message that has been signed. Good. So let's see a semi-formal definition. So a signature scheme in the public key framework, I would say, is defined by a tuple of three probabilistic algorithms: generation algorithm, the signature algorithm, and the verification algorithm. So the generation algorithm is a probabilistic one that takes as input a security parameter lambda and outputs a pair of public and private keys, PK, SK. Now the secret key is used to sign a message, while the public key is used to verify a signed message. So this is similar basically to what we have seen in the asymmetric encryption generation algorithm. Then we have the signing algorithm, which is again a probabilistic algorithm that takes as input a secret key SK, as well as a message M, and outputs a signature sigma. So this is basically the signed message that is sent to Bob in the previous slide. And finally, we've got the verification algorithm that takes as input a public key PK, a signature sigma, and a message M. Now the verification algorithm returns a bit, B equals to 1 if the signature is valid, or B equals to 0 if the verification fails. Now keep in mind that the main differences between sign and verify algorithms is that sign takes as input SK, the secret key, while the verification takes as input the public key, right? So these are the two main differences. Good. So let's move to see how the general algorithm basically works. So we have Alice and Bob. So Alice will generate a message M and will send it to Bob. Now Alice needs to send this in a signed format, let's say. So she will have to use the sign algorithm. So first she generates the message M, which is given as input to the sign algorithm, along with her private key SK of A. So in order to sign a message, we need to use a secret key. So since now Alice wishes to sign a message, okay, she will have to use her secret key, right? And remember that Alice is the only one who has access to her secret key, and therefore she's the only one that she can sign messages for her, right? So by giving us input to sign algorithm M and SK of A, we generate a signature sigma that is sent to Bob. Upon reception, Bob will give this as input to the verification algorithm along with Alice's public key, right? So we use Alice's public key, public information to basically verify the signature on the message sigma that was sent to Bob. Now the verification algorithm will output a bit, 0 if the verification fails or 1 if the verification is successful. Now keep in mind that in order for the verification algorithm to work properly, we need to give as input also the actual message M that Alice signed, right? Without this M, the verification cannot work, right? So Alice signs the message with her secret key, then she sends the signature along with the actual message M to Bob. Bob gives these two parameters as input to the verification algorithm, who is outputs yes or no, basically success or fail. So the basic idea behind the public key signature is like, we have a signature is equal to the message plus Alice's private key, while about the verification, we have the message plus the signature plus Alice's public key, and this will output a 0 or 1, a yes or no, right? Now, signature schemes allow a signer S who has established a public key PK, okay, to sign, like Alice, to sign the message using associated private key SK in such a way that anyone who knows the public key and knows that this public key was established by S, this can verify that the message originated from S and was not modified in transit. Note that in contrast to public key encryption, in the context of digital signatures, the owner of the public key acts as the sender. Good. So let's see basically how the sign algorithm actually works. So we have Alice that she first generates a message M. This is the first step. Then she calculates the hash of the message M. So she calculates H of M. And then she encrypts the hash with her private key. So she uses her private key to calculate the encryption of H of M with her secret key. Now, imagine that we don't encrypt M, okay? So we don't sign exactly M, we sign H of M. This is done mainly for two reasons. The first one is for efficiency. So imagine that encrypting a message M that is quite long, it will take substantial resources and time, while encrypting the hash of M, it will probably be faster, and that's because one of the main properties of hash function is that they compress a message. Cryptographic hash function is that they compress messages, right? So you will end up encrypting a much shorter message than the original one. Now, the other reason that we encrypt the hash is because we want, and not the actual message, is because we want to protect the actual content of M. Good, because the other property of cryptographic hash functions is that there's no inverse function. Okay, so it's only one way. Good. Now, after step 3, Alice contacts Bob and she sends basically the signature, which is the encryption of H of M with her secret key, along with the message M. So keep in mind that till now for signatures, we don't care about secrecy, we don't care about protecting the contents of the message. However, if we would like to protect our message and we think that we have E in the middle, what she can do is that immediately she can see M. So if we want to encrypt this, now we have, for example, asymmetric encryption. We know how this works. So one possible solution would be to use Bob's public key to encrypt message. So instead of just sending signature and M in plain text, we send signature of H of M as well as the ciphertext of M. So encrypting M with Bob's public key. So this is how the sign algorithm works. So let's see how the verification algorithm works now. So we have Bob who receives the signature and the ciphertext of M from Alice. So in the beginning, Bob will have to use his secret key to decrypt the ciphertext of M. Okay, so first he uses his secret key as k of bit to recover M. Then he calculates on his own the hash of M that he decrypted. Okay, and this results to, let's say, H prime of M. Okay, and then after he calculates H of M, he uses Alice's public key to verify the signature. And to do how this is done basically is that she uses Alice's public key to decrypt the signature that received earlier. So this will allow him to recover the hash of M, right? The hash of M that was encrypted with Alice's secret key in the previous slide. So by using Alice's public key, he can recover H of M. Now, then what? Basically, we have the last step of the verification algorithm where Bob basically he checks if the two hashes H of M from step 3 and H prime of M from step 2, the hash that he calculated on his own, are equal. If they are equal, then basically the verification algorithm is successful, and it means that basically the message first of all was indeed sent by Alice. We verified that because we used Alice's public key, right? Which means that this message was, signed by Alice because no one else has access to Alice's secret key. And apart from that, no one altered the message in transit because the two hashes are equal. As we will see in the next lectures, this is, this kind of, let's say, protocol messages are not really secure. I mean, there's no protection about the freshness of the message, so we can have attacks like replay attacks and so on. We'll see details on lectures 4 and 5. Good. So something really important. So theory versus reality. So digital signatures are often mistakenly viewed as the inverse of public key encryption, with the roles of the sender and receiver, let's say, interchanged. Now, historically, it has been suggested that digital signatures can be obtained by just reversing public key encryption, which means like signing a message by encrypting it using the private key to obtain sigma, and verifying a signature sigma by decrypting it using the corresponding public key. Exactly what we showed in the previous slide, right? Now, the suggestion to construct signature schemes in that way is completely unfounded. In most cases, it is simply inapplicable, and in cases where it is applicable, it results in signature schemes that are not really secure. So no doubt this view basically came because plain RSA signatures are the inverse of plain encryption. Nevertheless, neither plain RSA signatures nor plain RSA encryption meet even minimal notions of security, right? So keep in mind that just for simplicity in this course, okay, we will be assuming that this works, right? So when you want to sign something, you simply encrypt it with your private key, and when someone wants to verify a signature, simply decrypts it with your public key, right? But what is important to remember is that, okay, this can work in the abstract world of our videos, let's say. So RSA signing and RSA encryption with private key do turn out to be the same thing, just for these videos, and you will see this in many textbooks as well. Nevertheless, in the real world of implementations, they are not. So don't ever use a real world implementation of RSA decryption to compute RSA signatures. In the best case, your implementation will break in a way that you notice, but in the worst case, you will introduce a vulnerability that an attacker could and probably will exploit. Furthermore, don't make the mistake of generalizing from RSA to conclude that any encryption scheme can be adopted as a digital signature algorithm. This kind of adoption works only for RSA and El-Gamal, but not in general. Right, so that was it. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.